So let's begin with our keynote summit, keynote presentation from AT&T, and I'd like to invite Coursey, who's a VP at AT&T, to bring you through that.
Thank you, Shane. Hey, I'm really glad to be with you today. Some of you, it's been before the pandemic since I saw you. I know a lot of you in this room. And it's great to see friendly faces and people who have been on the same journey with us for a long time in Internet of Things. And I'm really happy to talk to you about a topic that is near and dear to my heart and to that of AT&T's. There is an old saying. It goes like this: the noble make noble plans, and by noble deeds they stand. You know, the word noble has a lot of meanings. In this context, it's honorable, right? And the opposite of noble is ignoble or dishonorable. There are a lot of things that we work on in our different technologies. Almost everything can be used for honorable or dishonorable purposes if you think about it, right? So what we're going to talk about today, you're not going to hear any announcements from me. You're not going to hear me beat my chest as AT&T and talk bad about any other cellular carriers. What you're going to hear is, I hope, something that you will take back and think and ponder about your own lives, your own self personally, and your companies. And that is, how can you and your company be involved in honorable uses of Internet of Things? The world has a lot of needs, and the people in this room can help meet those needs. And what I'm here to tell you is you can do it both for the good of society and for the good of your business. So that's what I want to stress in the next few minutes together. And then I'm going to bring on stage one other person that knows this area very well, and we're going to have a really good discussion together. All right, so the duality of technologies. Again, I don't think there's any debate that a technology can be used for both good and bad purposes. Think about, in particular, a vehicle. A vehicle can transport us from one location to another faster than any other generation. But, you know, in the hands or the minds of the wrong person, a vehicle can cause destruction, right? Nuclear power can be used to light cities and bring energy to people and electricity to people that would not otherwise have it. But it can be weaponized as well. The internet can be a great source of information and making the world a much smaller place. But it has a dark side to it too. You know what? The Internet of Things is no different. When you connect a thing, it has the potential to offer another threat vector for a bad actor, right? If it's not connected, it's much harder to get to. If it's connected, there is that threat. The good news is, with our cellular technologies, we have the best opportunity to secure those connections. We have the best authentication around that's been proven over the various generations of our technology. And we can provide private virtual connections for our customers that keep them off of the internet, right? And give them a private connection for their data to be transferred to the right place. These things can really set us apart in the cellular domain for Internet of Things, because it's all wrapped around the security that we can provide to the customer. And going forward, you know, I think we as an industry can do an even better job as we progress into the 5G world, where we have new networks that provide a capability called the network exposure function, in which we can provide information on devices and how they're operating on the network. We can predict if there's going to be an issue with the device, perhaps something that the device could act nefariously. And we can, with some of the capabilities that we will have in the future with artificial intelligence and analytics, be able to keep those things from happening. That is significant. So there's a lot of people that kind of worry a little bit about artificial intelligence and what it's going to do. I'll submit to you that what we need to do as an industry is harness that artificial intelligence for Internet of Things and for good. All right, so as we think about these different dualities of technology, what I want to challenge you with is how can we use IoT to make a positive impact in various areas? And I have 4 of them here that let's just talk about briefly. First of all, if we look at sustainability, it's quite obvious that for agriculture, let's take the ability for us to provide sensors that are connected, that can measure soil and moisture content, and even help to make sure that the right fertilizer quantities are being used. All of this can help to create a better situation for agriculture and better crop sustainability here. But also, when we look at Internet of Things, it can do so much in terms of energy management, and that's another area where IoT has already done a great job. Going forward, though, we think we can do so much more with some of these low-power wide area solutions that Shane talked about, LTM and narrowband IoT. We can also, though, start looking at other areas like economic development and how, let's say, the asset tracking can be done not only locally but globally with our cellular networks. And as we connect them through satellite as well, now we can really make sure that you can track something wherever it is, wherever it goes on the face of the earth. This is important for economic development and supply chain. And then if we look at healthcare, this is really ripe for us to work in this space. We're already, of course, all doing it, but we can do a lot more. And I'm going to give a better example of that in a minute. But really, in the healthcare space, think about remote patient monitoring, remote patient care, and even being able to track different medical devices and be able to provide information on them. It's another function, a foundational function of IoT. Finally, in the world of safety, I'm going to give you one example on this one, and I'm going to refer to something you can see in our booth with a company called Haas Alerts. You can go see it in a Ram truck. What Haas Alerts is doing is providing the driver of a vehicle with an information alert that an emergency vehicle is in their path. Please move out of the way. Please make sure you stay out of its way. Very important, something that can help to make sure that first responders can get on the scene as fast as possible and provide a level of safety that we need. This is a great example of where I think we can head as an industry together, a set of examples. And what I would say, the way that we can make this happen even better is to find the sweet spot. Find the sweet spot of where there is a need in society, where there is an economic value, and where we have an enabling technology that can help. If we can find that sweet spot and find it together, then this is where cellular technology can really help significantly. Let's again take one example, and let's take it from the medical section. There will be a shortage of healthcare workers globally going forward. The World Health Organization actually estimates that by 2030, we'll need 80 million healthcare workers and will face a shortage of 10 to 15 million. That's 10 to 15 million people that we need in this industry that aren't going to be there worldwide. Well, we think that IoT can help in this regard, right? Talk about economic value. According to a report by McKinsey & Company, remote patient monitoring is projected to account for $250 billion of what in the United States Medicare, Medicaid, and commercial insurers spend yearly. A report by the New England Health Institute found that remote patient monitoring could potentially prevent almost 600,000 heart failures related to having to return to the hospital. Think of the savings of this. It's reflected at about $6 billion per year of savings, $6 billion. This is true economic value that's out there, right? And there's technology that we have today and technology that is getting better that can be applied to this. Again, massive IoT, low power, wide area, low cost solutions can be applied. But where needed, we can provide higher bandwidth 4G and 5G solutions to these problems. And there's other techniques that we'll talk about with the person that I'll bring on stage here that can help in this regard as well. Okay, as we are working in this space, and as we are delivering solutions to problems for the good of society, one of the things that we as an industry have not done as well as we could is provide a simple customer journey. And this is where I want to leave our conversation before bringing somebody else on stage. We need to make it easier for customers to learn, buy, use, get, pay, and have service and solutions in this space of IoT. It has to be simple. And to do that, we as an industry have to take the complexity on ourselves, take it off the customer and put it on ourselves. One of the big ways that we can do that is through something called an embedded SIM. If you think about a thing that needs to be connected, you know, it needs a cellular radio. Well, it needs a SIM card that hooks that cellular radio up to one of our cellular networks, right? Today, one of the things that is a challenge logistically is if you're manufacturing something that's going to go across many markets, you don't want to have to bifurcate your manufacturing into what goes to this carrier versus that carrier right around the world. You want to be able to build it with an embedded SIM that is remotely programmable through remote SIM programming that allows it to take on the profile of whichever carrier this thing is going to go to. That is a technology that is related, of course, to everything that we do here, and GSMA has been doing a great job with the industry here to put specifications in place and to simplify the set of specifications that allow this to happen. So, right now I'm going to bring to stage with me Jean-Louis Carrara. Jean-Louis is Vice President with Kigen in the U.S. region for Sales and Business Development. I've known Jean-Louis for a very long time.
Thank you, Cameron.
And one of the things about Jean-Louis that I learned just recently is that he and his wife started a tea room outside of Barcelona serving 100 different types of tea. You know what, Jean-Louis, I can count on like two hands the number of types of tea that I know about. So it's amazing that you guys were able to do that with 100 different ones.
Well, there's probably a lot more, but thank you for welcoming me on stage.
Absolutely. And he and I have also been a part of, I'll tell you, the shutdown of multiple cellular technologies around through the years. But the good news is we're with 4G and 5G domain here, where we actually can really see the longevity of these different technologies. Okay, so I'm actually going to do something a little different than what I said I was going to do. So I'm going to go ahead and put these questions on the screen for us so that we can all see them. So let me just ask you to start with, we have had, a long, relationship between Kigen and AT&T. What is it that kind of sets that apart in the embedded SIM and integrated SIM space in your mind?
Well, first, thank you for having me here. Welcome, everyone. Good morning. And I would say Kigen, ARM at the time, has the vision of the integrated SIM. The need for ARM to see IoT scaling fast, and cellular IoT is key to enable IoT overall. went through looking at integrating that SIM deep into the cellular SOCs and making it essentially easier to bring that SIM into a device. That has created Kigen, which is now spun off from ARM. And Kigen is fabless as a result of this vision. And we see ourselves as actually a distributor of connectivity profiles. So we're kind of leading our own category in a way, right, of connectivity profile distribution. And that vision of the integrated SIM and making the journey simpler is one that AT&T shares. So that's a natural way to start working together. And we started that early on.
Yeah, for sure. And, you know, this SIM space is split up between removable SIMs, of course, embedded SIMs, which are soldered down, and integrated SIMs, which are part of a chipset, right? And so if you think about the need for the SIM not to be removable, that's when you have to have the remote SIM provisioning that we talked about earlier, right? In order to get the right profile, the right carrier profile onto it. Okay, so how can we increase the integration that will positively impact our differentiation here? What do you think about that?
I think integration, the way we're working together is key to actually make AT&T more available to a number of OEMs and enterprises. By having your connectivity profiles distributed by a company like Kigen, be it in a SIM, in an integrated or embedded SIM, or removable, it doesn't really matter what the form factor is selected by these OEMs. But at the end of the day, enabling the ability for them to source these profiles is what helps them actually get onto your network. And it's all that pre-integration that we do, so that when they come to us with a new product design and they want something different in their devices, we can say we're already ready. Because as we know, the speed of integration sometimes is a little slower than what OEMs would like to see. So the more we can do ahead, the better it is for them and for their innovation to come in months rather than years.
And it's adding to that simplicity that we're talking about, right? Taking on the burden instead of them doing it too.
Exactly. So that's for features, for instance, like SIM transfer that AT&T has put together. These are solutions that take time to come to market, but if they come and they're thought about early on, then that's something that we can benefit immediately.
Excellent. Good deal. All right. So, sorry, I'm having to turn around to see the questions myself. Okay. The digital profile that we're talking about here, how is that enablement helping to drive things forward?
Well, the digital enablement is key for the efficiency of the OEM. So as IoT becomes more and more cellular, we have OEMs that are actually looking to address multiple regions with their devices, to address multiple use cases in each of the verticals that you mentioned. Actually, there's a myriad of use cases and devices that are coming with different classes of usage. But for these companies, they want to achieve this variety of use cases, but at the same time integrate further and further and have the design-ins really. So when they look at the products that the SIM industry has been providing, if you look at a regular SIM, which is just as big as a module, there's something that just doesn't compute in anyone's brain. How come this function is so large compared to all the other functions that we have? So we're working at this integration and enabling them to have all these use cases with just one SKU. And that's the big challenge, how to prevent the proliferation of SKUs for OEMs when they address all those devices certified in multiple regions. And we believe that digital SIM enablement or remote SIM provisioning is really key to enable that. And that migration is something that we need to enable. I think AT&T's success with 100 million plus endpoints shows that you were able to work through those journeys and simplify them as much as possible. So it's a testimony to all that work with self-device certification, for instance. But we believe that at Kigen, and I have the luck to be working with a great technical team led by Jerry June. We think that we're also bringing a lot to that space in terms of enabling that digital enablement that simplifies and removes barriers for the OEMs.
You know, it's really remarkable, this whole digital enablement that you're talking about, that we've been able to do this in a way that is highly secure to make sure that all this key information stays secure, does not get accessed by the bad actors out there, right? And that we do it in a way that makes it seamless for the customer. And so I really appreciate the work that you've been doing with us in this space, Jean-Louis.
Yeah, thank you. And we see the need for the most flexible environment that we can see for IoT ecosystem. There's really 3 points that I would like to bring. Is one, looking at partners, looking at enabling security, right? Secure devices. We know that in IoT, cybersecurity is complicated. And for the OEMs, device security can sometimes be an afterthought. And that's very dangerous, right? So we believe that the work we're doing with this pre-integration is enabling that security to be there. And not just looking at partners that are focusing on identity, for instance. The digital enablement, the new standard of the IoT eSIM is going to accelerate the migration to eSIM. And that's going to be something that we have to embrace, even though we all know it's a bit challenging, especially for carriers, to see potentially levers, right, with that technology. And then I would say the third point is that especially now with the geopolitical developments that we have, we really have to ensure that we can maintain a strong and secure sourcing environment for the IoT for the US. And this is something that we can all work together on to make sure that we keep that flexibility to address all the use cases, but always keep in mind that secure processes, secure design, secure components are key to our success and to keep IoT for good rather than for hackers.
Love it. That is a good place for us to end the discussion today on the strategic items that we need to be working on with eSIM. Jean-Louis, thank you for joining me here and joining me in the quest for IoT for good.
We've had a lot of chats over the years, but never quite like this. Thank you, everyone.